Hello and welcome to Outlook Bibliofile. Our guest today is Dr. B.N. Suresh, the space scientist. And we have with us a fascinating little book. Not little really, it's a big coffee table book. ISRO in Pictures. It's been put together painstakingly and lovingly by three people. P.V. Manoranjan Rao, Dr. B.N. Suresh, and V.P. Balagangadharan. All three veterans of ISRO. There's quite a big story behind this effort, and that's what we'll be talking to Dr. Suresh today. Welcome, sir. It's a great pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure too.
This book is in pictures what you did a few years ago, from Fishing Hamlet to Red Planet, an exhaustive history of ISRO. Just take us through these two, the text and now the coffee table book.
Yeah, our intention was to really record the history of ISRO from almost birth till today. How it has progressed, what are the various major events, and how we have really progressed in various activities. That was the whole intention. And the first book essentially is in terms of various stories from the beginning till now. That also includes some of the interviews with Sarabhai, which was all recorded much earlier, and with Dhawan much earlier, and also the people who have wetted their hands and who are responsible to various activities over a period. We went to them, sought their help in really authoring the particular activity, and we compiled them, and that's how the first book of Fishing Hamlet to Red Planet took birth.
All right.
And at the same time, we also had an intention of translating all of them in a pictorial form and bring it as a coffee table book.
All right.
And this book is the result of that.
All right. From what I understand, a lot of the pictures here have come from the personal albums of ISRO folk over the years.
It has taken full 5 years for us to really reach this particular stage, for the simple reason that it's not easy to get photographs, pictures, which depicts the entire history from the day one till today.
Yes.
And we also wanted to put them chronologically from the beginning till today.
Yes.
That's why you would have seen in the book that we have divided as Sarabhai's vision, then Dhawan's era,
yes,
then rocketry, then spacecraft, then going through the industry, people, the application, like that we compartmentalized the various activities, and each one of them we have recorded the chronologically how it has progressed.
Right.
Now it becomes important for us to really tell the story without missing any link. How do we pick up the right pictures?
Right.
That's where we have to depend on the archives of various ISRO centers and headquarters. But then we could not get the kind of exciting personal pictures where people are involved.
Yes, yes.
So that's where we have to dip in and then collect them over a period from several of our ISRO employees with whom we have contact. We got them, we collected around 2,000 plus photos of different kinds, and ultimately brought down to 370, putting them chronologically to depict the story of ISRO actually.
So a lot of people came forth from their
yes, I think
albums.
Yes, wherever we went and requested, they were quite helpful, and whatever they had, they brought it out, and from that we picked up. Only difficulty is, some of them are really in a stage where you can present it in the book.
Yes.
Some of them are really not in a stage where you can't really transform into a good picture.
Yes.
We had these kinds of difficulties, and also it should synchronize with the story that we are building. You can't
Yes.
simply put some half a dozen photographs and build story.
That's right.
It has to grow in a synchronized manner with the story that we are trying to build.
Right.
And at this point, I must acknowledge that the greatest contribution done in preparing this book is Dr. P.V. Manoranjan Rao, who has tremendous flair in writing history books, and I would say that the whole credit should go to Dr. P.V. Manoranjan Rao, along with the support by Balagangadhar.
He is a chronicler of ISRO, more or less.
Yes, he has written so far 4 such books on history of rocketry,
Right.
history of ISRO, and the third book was our Red Planet, and the fourth one is this coffee table book,
All right.
Our Airports ISRO.
Some of the pictures, at least a couple of them, are so well known. I mean, almost everybody has seen it. The cone, the rocket cone being shifted on a bicycle is an iconic picture. Similarly, is the magnetic test being done on a bullock cart. But there are some lot of pictures which you say nobody's, even ISRO people haven't seen before.
You are right. In fact, there are a good number of photographs which are quite exciting, and I'm pretty sure that even many of our ISRO colleagues, not only present generation, even the older generation, they wouldn't have seen some of these photographs.
Right.
So we are very happy that we are able to bring in here and then make it as a part of our story, and it's quite exciting. And at the same time, pictures speak volumes.
That's right. Yes.
Rather than go on writing the story.
Yes.
And, for example, the Red Planet, it takes a lot of effort and time to read and understand.
Yes.
Whereas you sit for about half an hour and just go through the pages, I'm sure you will understand what all happened over a period.
Yes. And this took a few years to compile and put together?
I told you, the time we visualized and started, it has taken 5 long years before we could really get it printed and turn out the book. And that too, it has happened, in my opinion, because we had a target to meet.
That's right.
That centenary celebrations of Vikram Sarabhai was celebrated on 12th of August,
That's right.
2019 at Ahmedabad. And we must make sure that this book is released on that day.
Right.
That put us tremendous pressure in the last 3 to 4 months before the celebration.
Right.
And that made it possible.
Right.
But for that target, possibly it would have taken a couple of more years.
Right. At this moment, Dr. Suresh too has an anniversary this year. It's his 50th year at ISRO. What was ISRO like in 1969 when you walked through these gates?
1969, we did not have too many programs like we have today. Only program was, we were at a definition stage of SLV-3, for which
Right.
Kalam was identified
Right.
as the project. In fact, that too happened little later, not when I joined.
All right.
When I joined, there were, then Sarabhai was there when I joined.
All right.
He died only 1971 December
yes.
in Thiruvananthapuram.
Yes.
And he sort of seeded very many activities that are needed for the rocketry, like propulsion, then control, then mechanical engineering, things like that, and allowed to people really develop various things simultaneously. He also brought some kind of competition amongst people so that the development takes place
Right.
much faster than what one would have
Right.
envisaged. Similarly, he had a thought process that the activity on satellite also has to be seeded.
Right.
And he had created one small group called Space Systems Division at Vikram Sarabhai Space
Right,
Center.
right.
We did not have any of the other centers what we have today. Everything was only in Tumba, and that is the birthplace of ISRO actually.
Right, right.
But then
And PRL, of course, was.
PRL, of course. PRL, of course, everything came out of PRL.
Right.
1969, ISRO was in a very, very infant stage, and we had only one program of, having the scientific experiments at Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station,
Yes.
what was called as TERLS,
Yeah.
TERLS. And also we had initiated a lot of technology development needed for rocketry and to some extent on satellite. And there were no other centers anywhere other than Thiruvananthapuram at that point of time. And various developments were taking place, and Sarabhai was there at that time. He died only in 1971 December.
Right.
And he used to come once in a quarter and go through various laboratories, hold discussions, and people are all very eager to develop something and then show to Sarabhai. And particularly all of us were youngsters those days.
Yeah.
Most
you
of them
just come out of IIT Madras after your MTech.
Madras, and so also most of them, they have come from various other educational institutions. The average age of organization at that point was maybe around 25, 26.
Right.
We were all youngsters, and we were quite excited to show something that we had done to Sarabhai.
Right.
It was in that kind of infancy stage, and he was a daydreamer. He was able to really think of very many programs, and we all got the freedom to do what we want.
Right.
That possibly made us to continue in the program and contribute.
Right. So you're also the Chancellor of IIST, Space Science and Technology at Trivandrum. What's ISRO like now for a young person in their 20s joining up?
We take, I think, on the average about 180 to 200 youngsters every year into the organization.
All right.
And we started IIST, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, essentially to get the quality human resources.
Yes.
Who are well trained, who are exposed to the space activities. Something like 35 to 40% of our intake through IIST.
Right.
That was the idea with which we started.
Right.
And so far it has fed fairly good number of students
Right.
to our program, and
Right.
they have been contributing very well.
And ISRO, in many ways, has remained the same organization that. What do these pictures actually show? One, of course, the transition of a fledgling outfit in the late 1960s, and to now a big institution. But from a people point of view, what do these images actually tell us?
Basically, this book depicts the story of ISRO from the day one, beginning till date, how it got evolved, how various things have progressed. So what I have done is we have sort of classified them into a number of chapters. And for example, Sarabhai as a dreamer, how he initiated various programs, what were his dreams. Then after his death, excepting for a very brief period where Menon was the chairman, but then Dhawan took over.
Yes.
Dhawan gave the very good organization structure for the entire ISRO.
Yes.
And whatever organization structure he gave to ISRO, I must say that even today we continue with that, accepting little changes here and there, which is demanded by the growing systems. Otherwise, the core remains one and the same.
There's a fascinating photograph in the book. Dr. Vikram Sarabhai addressing people at BARC on the passing away of Dr. Homi Bhabha. It's quite it's quite a photograph. Was there something similar to that in ISRO in 1971 when Vikram Sarabhai passed away?
Well, that was something, a very sad story, because he was very active, like as his usual self. Every visit he will spend time holding discussion, taking reviews, visiting laboratories, so on and so forth. And that day also he continued, as I understand, up to 11:30, 12 on that day, and went back to Kolam. He used to stay in Kolam, one of the very good hotels there. And morning, generally he used to take tea at 6 o'clock. But then there was no response from him. Later on they found that he's no more. It was something like a shock for everybody. So I don't know how to explain that shock. Something, because the age was only 52 years.
Right.
Very young for anyone to die, that too at that dynamic level.
Right.
And it was such a shock. I don't think people could even react on that.
Right. What are your personal favorites, the photographs?
There are many, but then one I would like to quote is that in one of the pages when we unveiled the bust of Sarabhai in front of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in 2003. Incidentally, that also happens to be the 40th year of rocketry.
Right.
Because 1963, 21st November, we take it as the birth of ISRO, where we launched a tiny Nike Apache from shores of Tumba.
Right.
And while doing that, we also synchronized the unveiling of the bust of Sarabhai.
Right.
At that time, we had almost everybody who laid the firm foundation for ISRO. And there is one group photo taken very near to our canteen. I think that's one of the excellent pictures I like even today.
Right, it's got everybody who...
It has got everybody who have really put the firm foundation.
All right.
It's something like a historical picture in my opinion.
Right. And I think you conclude with looking, of course, to the future. What does the future look like?
See, while we tell the story, we also would like to mention that what are the exciting and challenging programs ahead of us for ISRO, and that includes Chandrayaan series, Chandrayaan 2 specifically. It had not launched at that point of time.
Right.
Then we have the Aditya program, then we have the Gaganyaan, which has been approved by Prime Minister and announced on the Independence Day of this year.
Yes.
So these are the programs which are on the anvil, and this is only to tell to our youngsters there are quite a number of good programs which are challenging and exciting too, so that you can carry forward.
Right. Thank you very much,
My pleasure.
Dr. Suresh. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Okay.
And, going on this picture journey.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.